It's all based on a temporary, illusory conception of life. So to sit into, I won't sit and get into these types of arguments. It's all based on falsehood. Maybe some more false than others, but no. What's that? Did someone say something?
Well, I'm glad you feel like that, because I was going to ask you a question about flat Earth, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Oh no! Are you joking? Are you serious?
No, but there are like people who are very convinced on that.
Right. I mean, for me, again, it comes to the same thing. Like, Krishna's the hypnotist, he can show different things at different times. He can also, I mean, if you ask me as a human being, what do you believe? I believe that the earth is round. But that's a relative conception. And I also believe that Krishna can show different things to different people. He can also change the rules if he wants. There's one place where Srila Sridhar Maharshi, this is why Krishna consciousness wins every argument, because we have an answer. We can up everybody's, we can counter whatever anybody throws at us, we can counter. We just have the highest conception. So there's one place where Srila Sridhar Maharshi is saying that if Krishna wants, he can change the laws of gravity. He was talking about, there's a beautiful recording of him talking about the Govardhan Leela, where Krishna's lifting this huge hill on the pinky of his left finger. And, how is it possible? And he mentions there how he can change all the laws of physics if he wants. He can change the laws of gravity. By his will, everything can change. And this is one reason why we don't want to get too caught up in researching within the material sphere, because we can spend lifetime after lifetime trying to understand one law of physics. And then Krishna, with the snap of his finger, can change it. He can just change it all. I just came across this article in the Guardian newspaper. There's this like big headline. Now astronomers, or I can't remember what class they were, but let's just say scientists, they've been able to estimate that there are 36 different intelligent civilizations in outer space. There's 30, and they spent years trying to come up with this figure. They have some very complicated way of analyzing this, like based on, I don't have a head for these things, but just based on so many different factors in outer space, they have some way of being able to calculate how many different like alien life forms are within outer space. And so they've come up with this number, and they're very proud. 36. Like, for goodness sake. This is ridiculous. Oh, thank you so much. What do the Vedas tell us? What does the scripture tell us? This, one Brahmanda, one, we don't really have multiverse. Now they have a word for one multiverse is like one mustard seed within a bag of infinite mustard seeds. There's so much going on there. There's so much going on there. To waste your time trying to quantify and understand. Waste of time. I had a little conversation with Balaram. He's a little 3-year-old here, Saraswati's grandson. So he was watching this Krishna movie cartoon, and we had this girl. She's the daughter of a builder, friendly builder, and she comes and she plays with him. And I overheard Balaram telling her name's Sophie, "That's God. like pointing to Krishna, to baby Krishna. And I was completely astounded. He's 3 years old, you know. Like how is it, like, logically speaking, or like you know, according to our like limited measurements mind's way of thinking, how can you really say that a 3-year-old understands what God is? Like, where did that idea come to him? It's just something very instinctive. How can he know that? Like, how does he have an idea of God? And then afterwards, I thought, did I really hear him say that? Maybe I didn't hear him say that. So I asked him later on, before you were, what is it that you said? You said that was God? And he said, yes. And I said, so who is God? And I wanted to like try to like get deeper with this idea, like, what does God mean to you? So I said, so what is God, or who is God? And then he just said, Krishna. But like, as far as I'm concerned, that is more intelligent than, you know, hundreds of these scientists put together. Just like having simple faith. Like, I know there's God, and God is Krishna. Like, that's it. I don't need to spend my whole life, you know, trying to analyze every detail of the world, or trying to prove that such a being exists. It's a very simple thing. It is like Srila Swami Maharshi would give that example, you know, if your mother tells you this is your father, then you just believe this is your father. You know, or if you want, you can go to a laboratory and you can do lots of testing, you know, or you can just believe your mother. This is my father. So, you know, the scriptures, the sayings, they're telling us this is God, you know. So then we happily accept that. We don't feel the need to go and analyze every little atom. Srila Sridhar Maharshi, he says, you know, you can spend lifetimes analyzing just a grain of sand, and you won't come to the end of it. You know, there's just infinite wonder everywhere and everything. So anyhow, just some thoughts coming to mind. Yeah. Does that address what you were thinking of, Prabhu?
Yes, it's very clear, because it's very easy. And for a while I was into all the conspiracy theories, and then after a while, it's just like, well, it's all kind of useless, because it is all temporary.
Yeah.
It's not anything that's going to last or have any bearing on anything eternal.
Yeah. That's the other point. That even if, you know, whether it's round or whether it's flat, or whether you believe this conspiracy or that conspiracy, it doesn't change our own situation. You know, it doesn't change the fact that we are struggling souls in this world with the need to awaken our true nature, to connect with the Lord and enter into our eternal life of service. Like that's still the fundamental need. You know? I'm still, whether the earth is round or flat, I'm still struggling with, you know, lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy. Like, I'd rather focus my energy on dealing with that, you know. So, but the mind can take us in so many places. That's the thing. The mind likes to chew on all these things. So we have to try to keep some control, some check on our mind. Best friend or worst enemy, as we're told in Bhagavad Gita. So we have to make the mind serve us, not that we will serve our minds. But certainly these things, they can really capture your attention. You know, it's easy to get caught up. We have to give ourselves a little knock sometimes. We have Bimala Didi with us. Dandavat, Bimala Didi. And Braja Mohini also. Jai. Dhanavad. Where are you?
Well, we're with Bimala in San Jose. Shama Mohini's here as well. Dhanavad, Pachi.
Dhanavad, Bimala.
Shama is here too.
She's putting her shoes on.
Dhanavad.
Say hi to
Shama Mohini.
Shama. Wonderful to see you.
Yeah, good to see
Shama is like our #1 preacher in the mission.
Yeah.
She brought all her friends.
Yeah.
And now she's made Krishna consciousness cool.
you.
No, seriously, like half a dozen of her friends, they all took initiation. They're all very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Great. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. We're going out to do some stuff, but it's really nice to see you, Vishakha and Sachi Didi.
Really wonderful to see you, Brad.
Arrivederci, arrivederci.
Okay, well, we had a topic, and actually, I would like to share a link to the video. I'll do that maybe before we conclude. This is a video that Chinmoy Prabhu, I don't know if any of you are following on YouTube, but Chinmoy Prabhu is regularly uploading videos of our Gurudev there. It's called Srila Govinda Maharaj Video Series. And really, some really special gems are there. And he's also subtitling them, slowly going through them all. So that's also really helpful for newer persons, especially who can't really follow Gurudev's accent so well. There's some really, really special content there. And there's one video in particular, I think you posted it, it was like 2 or 3 months ago. And it was for me, it was revolutionary, really, really helped me. He was speaking about, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. He was speaking about how there may be many differences amongst the Vaishnavas, both within our own particular mission, as well as within different missions. You know, there may be many differences amongst us, but how that, you know, there should still be a bond there, a bond of affection and appreciation. You know, for me, it was very liberating, because often when you have some disagreement with someone, that there's this tendency to feel a mood of division. Like, oh, it's one of the qualities of Maya, actually, you know, to create this divisive mood, you know, quarrel. This is one of the characteristics of the age of Kali, or one of the prominent characteristics, quarrel. So this is we have Brajarama Didi with us. Welcome. Dhanavad. So yeah, this is one of the characteristics. Hi, Brajarama. This is one of the characteristics, one of the defining characteristics of Kali, the age of Kali. I mean, that's what it means. Sorry, it comes from Kalaha, which means quarrel. So this is actually something we have to be really aware of, because that energy is pervading the atmosphere, and it's always Jagadananda, he published a really nice post about this recently. You know, how we have to be careful within our groups, our congregations, to not let that spirit of quarrel enter and ruin things. It's like it's always trying to find some entry point. Yeah. So it's something we have to be alert about, that it's a very pervasive and predominant energy, this mood, this spirit, this tendency to quarrel. It has some force at the present time, and we have to be careful to not let it, destroy our relationships with especially with the devotees. So there's this tendency, right, that when we see somebody has a different opinion to us, somebody's doing something different to us, then there's this spirit of division that is created. They're like this party spirit. You're in this group, I'm in this group. You're in that party, I'm in this party. There's this beautiful verse of Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says, the verse is something like, let me offer my respectful obeisances to the Lord, by whose illusory energy the conception of friends and enemies has sprung up. This is the influence of Maya, this conception, this type of discrimination is made based on our own self-interest. Oh, this is my friend and this is not my friend. This person agrees with me, they're in my camp. That person doesn't agree with me, they're in another camp. So this spirit of separation, division, it begins to develop. So it was so purifying for me to hear that talk, and I've transcribed it, and I'm trying to prepare it into an article. But it's taking me a long time because Gurudev talks about some confidential things in there as well. So like to put it in black and white, to be a bit more careful. So I'm trying to carefully prepare. But he started out with this really nice example. He was speaking about, I think there was some particular incident that was going on in one country between two different devotees who were quarreling. And I think that was what it was obvious that something was kind of bothering him. And that was what inspired him to speak on the topic. And so the talk started out with someone, it started out with someone asking Gurudev, is it true that if we chant the holy name in the Dham, in the holy place, then we'll get more benefit from that? And then Gurudev saying it's possible, but ultimately everything exists within consciousness. So we may be physically in the Dham, but we're just on the cover of the Dham. And so really everything's living within consciousness. It depends where we're connected on a conscious level. And he said, and we may be in Calcutta, which is not normally considered a Dham, but we may be thinking, oh, Saraswati Thakur started his preaching mission here. Swami Maharaj, he was preaching here. If we're in that type of consciousness, then we may as well be in the Dham. So everything's in consciousness. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when Swami Maharaj thought he was going to leave his body, he wrote to Srila Sridhar Maharaj saying, I'm here in America and I think I'm going to die. I want to leave my body in Vrindavan. So what should I do? Should I leave my work here, my important work here in America to leave my body in Vrindavan? Or should I just stay here and continue my work, but then I'll leave my body here in America? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave that wonderful answer that, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Because you're always you're in that consciousness of service to your guru, and your guru has given you that land for your preaching mission. So you can leave in America, you can leave in London, or you can leave in India, but it will be Vrindavan. Jai Shri Shri Guru Guru. So Gurudev, he was giving an answer along these lines, and then he was saying how then he segued into what he was thinking about, which we saw Gurudev would do sometimes. Like he would be meditating on something, and then someone would bring up a subject, and then Gurudev would connect it with his own line of thought. And so then he segued into what he seemed like he'd been thinking about. And he said Srila Sridhar Maharaj was always very firm on this point, that everything is consciousness. You know, even what we're seeing as matter within this world around us, these material objects, that is also consciousness. And I won't pretend this is something that I can perfectly understand. I just have some hazy idea about it. And then Gurudev, he went on to discuss how, and this is the main point, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj would debate this point with his godbrothers. And he particularly mentioned Jajavar Maharaj, who was actually the dearest. He's not so well known, Jajavar Maharaj, but you know, my impression from what Gurudev has said is that he was the most beloved godbrother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But so they were very, very good friends, but they would have like strong arguments on this subject. And Madhusudan Maharaj, Mahananda was there, and he said Jajavar Maharaj would say, well, he was quoting what Gurudev had said another time. He said Jajavar Maharaj would say, if everything is consciousness, then this chapati should be able to jump off the table, you know, and it's not doing that, you know. So I cannot agree with you. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj's response was, first of all, we cannot see anything. You know, everything that we're seeing is opposite. You know, and that was another point Gurudev would make, how the eye actually sees things upside down. This is a fact. You know, our eyes see things upside down, and then our brain corrects it the right way up. So we literally see things like in an inverted way. That tells you something. There's a hint. There's a hint there. An important hint. You know, what is the meaning of Maya? Maya, what is not? So everything, what we're seeing, that is not. We cannot really see anything properly. So that was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's first point. And then, let me see. I have it here. Let me bring it up exactly what he said. Yeah, so the first point, that you're seeing things opposite, and then his final point was everything is living in consciousness. And if you're unconscious, you cannot see anything. So they would have like raging arguments about this. But Gurudev, his point was that even though they would have these very strong disagreements, their bond of affection was never affected by that. They always remained very, very loving friends. And also Gurudev expressed that he, like as a disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he never got into any kind of party spirit. Like he never like started to think, oh, Jajavar Maharaj, he is opposing my guru, so therefore Jajavar Maharaj is bad. You know, I don't like Jajavar Maharaj. he said, I never thought like that. You know? And even he was saying Jajavar Maharaj and Guru Maharaj, Jajavar Maharaj and Guru Maharaj, and then he said, you see how I am saying their names? I'm saying Jajavar Maharaj's name first, and then I'm saying Guru Maharaj's name. and he said, you know, I'm a disciple of Guru Maharaj. I should see my Guru Maharaj as supreme, as absolute. But in this situation, I'm not taking that perspective. I'm seeing from a neutral perspective, and I'm honoring them both. They're both great devotees of Krishna, like that. And he said how there were many godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was renowned for his deep understanding of the Siddhanta. And so, you know, many of his godbrothers used to come to consult with him, but not just consult. they would come to ask him questions, but Gurudev said the way that they would ask him questions was in a challenging mood, like a demanding kind of mood, you know. And their mood was, we want an answer, we need an answer from you. And so it would get rough sometimes. Gurudev said, like, it was fighting sometimes. And he said, what kind of fighting? I don't want to say. and he said that they would bring their disciples with them also. And some of them would bring 2, 3, 4, 5 disciples with them. And Gurudev said, and my relationship with them was very sweet. You know, he said about one of them, we were like twin brothers. There was never this party spirit that, you know, I'm Sridhar Maharaj's disciple, and I'm Madhav Maharaj's disciple, and I'm Goswami Maharaj's disciple. There was never any mood like that. You know, but they were thinking of one another as being part of the same family. And then he mentioned that there's this famous incident, I think many of you have heard of, and I've heard of it many times from Gurudev, it's very well known, but he added some extra details in this recording, which I hadn't heard before. There was this famous incident with Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who was another dear godbrother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And he lived like a Babaji, you know, so he was a Babaji. He didn't have any fixed residence. He used to move back and forth between Navadvip and Vrindavan. And he never liked getting involved in missionary activities, missionary seva. He liked Nam Bhajan. He liked to take the name. That was all he liked to do. And so, you know, he was a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. He was a very exalted Vaishnava. So there was one occasion when he would come in every year, he would come and spend maybe 1 or 2 or 3 months at Srila Sridhar Maharaj's temple, his mott in Navadvip. And so on one occasion when he was there was some kirtan going on, what they call Leela Kirtan, and it's what we call Sahaja Kirtan, you know, like persons, I think usually ladies, they will sing these very high songs in a very like sweet and very like musical way. They will sing these songs which are describing intimate pastimes between Radha and Krishna. And actually there's nothing wrong with the songs, you know, the songs are, you know, very sacred prayers, very, you know, genuine devotional expressions. But the problem is that they're describing very intimate topics. And so in our line, we don't hear those, we don't sing those. And Saraswati Thakur was very strict on that. But Babaji Maharaj, you know, he's on an elevated platform and he liked to hear that. And actually, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he also liked, you know, that Gurudev, he told how when because Gurudev, he came from that kind of background. Gurudev's father was a guru and a kirtaniya. That was how he made a living, through kirtan. And his father used to sing all these it was like their family tradition. He used to sing these very high songs. But it is not it is not accepted for the reasons we've already discussed within the line of Saraswati Thakur. And so Gurudev, when he came to join the mott, he told Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was examining him and like, what do you know? What's your experience? And so Gurudev shared that he was familiar with this type of kirtan, this Leela Kirtan. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj told Gurudev to forget it all. You know, it's not appropriate for us. And so Gurudev, he very faithfully followed that instruction. which is really quite extraordinary. to forget something. It's not, if you've already learned something, it's difficult to forget it. So Srila Sridhar gave the instruction. Welcome, Dayamati, Dandavad. So Srila Sridhar gave an instruction to forget those songs. And then many years later, Srila Sridhar Maharaj had some inspiration to hear those songs. And so because as I said, there's nothing wrong with those songs, but they're for Vaishnavas who are on a higher platform. And so many years later, Srila Sridhar Maharaj wanted to hear those songs. And he asked Gurudev, can you sing me some of those songs? But Gurudev, he was such a perfect disciple that when he'd been told to forget them, he completely forgotten them. So he said, I'm sorry, Guru Maharaj, you told me to forget those songs, and I did. Now I can't sing them. He was such a perfect disciple. Too much. So anyhow, Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, on one occasion when he was staying in the mott, he was going out to some group nearby who were holding this type of kirtan. And, you know, Babaji Maharaj, he's like living on a higher platform, and he's hearing that, and he's connecting it to a higher plane, right? However, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he did not feel comfortable with that, because it is a, you know, it is a bad example for everyone else. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj requested him repeatedly, you know, please don't go to those kirtans while you're staying in my temple. You know, if you're staying somewhere else, you can do what you like. But if you're staying in my temple, and I'm trying to uphold the teachings, the line of my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then my humble request is that you don't attend those. But Babaji Maharaj, he disregarded that request, and he kept going. And so finally, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told him, I'm sorry, but you have to go. You can't stay here. And so he threw him out. And then there's that famous ending, you know, he went out, he left for some days, and then he came back. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said to him, why are you here? I thought I told you to leave. And then Babaji Maharaj said, but you didn't say I couldn't come back. Which is very nice. It's a very nice example of, you know, the kind of family mood that we want to cultivate, this type of like space and, you know, affectionate dealings and, you know, forgiving mood. So anyhow, the point here that I was coming to is that Gurudev, he was upset that Srila Sridhar Maharaj had told him to leave. No, he wasn't like, yeah, Guru Maharaj said you have to go, like, you gotta go. He was the opposite. He challenged his own guru. He went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and said, why have you done this? Like, Babaji Maharaj, he was taking the side of Babaji Maharaj rather than Guru Maharaj's side. And so he went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and he said, like, why have you done this? Like, Babaji Maharaj was your best friend. He's always doing so much good for you. How can you treat him like this? He was like, Gurudev was chastising his own guru for what he had done. You know, like to that extreme, he was completely free from any type of party spirit. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained his position. You know, he may be my best friend, and I'm very sad, I'm heartbroken to do this, but ultimately I have to follow the line of my Guru Maharaj. You know, I love my Guru Maharaj more than anyone else, and I have to follow his order above anyone else's, you know, desire or way of doing things. And he was also saying how there was this very deep mood of love between Srila Sridhar Maharaj and his godbrothers, and also among amongst for the disciples of his godbrothers. Like Gurudev said, whenever one of his godbrothers would leave, and also when one of the disciples of his godbrothers would leave, as in pass away, die, Srila Sridhar Maharaj would cry. He had such a deep feeling, such love for all of them. And then Gurudev was kind of lamenting and saying, like, why can't we have this mood now? And I'm thinking about, he said, I'm always thinking about that. I'm thinking about the mood of the devotees and how can our group have this type of spirit? It's a really nice talk. I'll post the link here. He mentions many nice examples. He was saying how I'm getting so many letters from the West, and not all the letters are sweet letters. Some of the letters are bitter letters. There's this one time, Gurudev, you know, at the ends, you know, we'll have the jais, the key jais, the jaya dwani. There's this one time Gurudev was saying the jais, and then he added, all the sweet and sour devotees, ki jai. So anyhow, he was saying, I'm getting so many letters, and not all the letters are sweet letters. Some of the letters are very bitter letters. And I'm thinking, like, how can I give this type of mood to the devotees? Because he was seeing this mood, this spirit of division. And he was saying, I got this one letter this morning, and this man, he was a disciple of Swami Maharaj, and he said in his letter again and again, my Guru Maharaj and your Guru Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj and your Guru Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj and your, like about 10 times. He was really like emphasizing this point, and Gurudev was disturbed. He was like, we are not thinking like that. We're not accustomed with this conception. We are a family. We're not trying to create a divide. We're not trying to create a division here. And ultimately, Guru is one. So very, very sweet. Let me see. I'm just gonna open it up here. He gave many nice examples. We are all like brothers. We are family. Oh, and also he was saying, this was a nice point. He was saying, where is it? That I want to make a universal religion that is called Jaiva Dharma, the religion of the soul. What given our Guru Varga, Srila Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. Now the whole world is chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra by their grace. And ego is the worst enemy of everybody, and that is necessary to remove. And which way it will be possible, I do not know. And he also, there was also another nice thing he mentioned here, how there's so many billions of people in this world. How many people are practicing Krishna consciousness? He said, there is no percentage. Maybe 0.005. And if we will quarrel, then how will we spread Krishna consciousness? It gives very nice perspective, you know. It's easy for us to get caught up in our you know, these differences that we have, you know, but the real fight is not amongst ourselves, you know. The real fight is outside, you know. The real fight is against illusion. So that can sometimes give us some. I was talking about that we were talking about that with Griffin not too long ago. You know, we just that, you know, how we can, you know, we can get very kind of internal, you know, and there are these differences springing up, and then we go outside and we're like meeting people who really don't care at all about, you know, spiritual life at all, what to speak of Krishna consciousness. Like, actually, I have no issue anymore with any devotee. Somebody has some little bit of faith, you know, in the teachings of Guru Gauranga, then, you know, we will think of them in a broad sense, they're our best friends. So, very, very, really beautiful talk. As I said, it was very liberating, revolutionary for me. I was like, oh, like I don't have to make all these divisions and camps, and it's okay to disagree. You know, it's okay to have different opinions. You know, it's okay to have different ways of doing things, and that doesn't change our relationship. So yeah, really nice perspective. Yeah. Anyone want to add anything? Any thoughts on that? And
just a question, if I may. I'm sorry for
Yeah.
being late, but I'm
no worries.
happy to be here. But relating that, how can we put into practice that welcoming of diversity? How can we really, like, you know, it's probably a question that's all going over and over and over, but how can we really put in practice that welcoming that diversity and make others feel that harmony?
Make others feel what? Sorry. What was that last sentence? Make others feel.
Yeah, to perceive that harmony, that it really is okay to be diverse, to be of different style, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that mentality of like division, it's due to ignorance. It's just a result of ignorance. And so I think just to talk about these things, you know, to remind ourselves and to try and to talk about them, to like educate one another on these things, that can help to clear these kind of issues. Party politics, or another nice. This is a comment Gurudev made a few times. Like, I am not a campaign man. You know, I'm not on any campaign. Not grinding an axe, not grinding some particular axe. You know. Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to remind ourselves and remind each other, you know, and try to set the example for others as well. I mean, it is a complicated subject matter, because at the same, you know, there's unity and there's unity and diversity. So there are both sides. There is the unity, but there's also the diversity. So we also don't want to just make everything one homogeneous thing, you know. We do also have to appreciate what is the distinction, you know. So like if we take the example of ISKCON, you know, we're cultivating something that is, you know, what we feel to be somewhat more refined, let's say, you know, more developed. And we're not just saying, oh, everything's one. It's not that you know, I'm group A, group B, group C, and we're all just the same. It's not like that either. We don't want to dissolve the diversity side, the distinction side. So we are cultivating something specific. You know, what we've received from, that looks like Balaram. Balaram. You know, we've received something very specific from Srila Sridhar Maharaj and from Srila Govinda Maharaj. And we really want to cultivate that. We really want to dive deep into that. And we particularly want the association that encourages us in that particular mood and conception. So there is that angle as well, but it doesn't mean that we will not appreciate, you know, we will not respect, and we won't. It is like they are like, I think of them as our cousins, you know, like they're our spiritual cousins. You know? So, you know, we have our particular family with our particular mood and dynamic and you know, refined understanding. But at the same time, sometimes we will meet our cousins and we'll embrace them, you know, very, very happily, you know. And then we'll go back to our house. So something like that. Because, you know, we do see like both extremes, actually. We'll see persons who don't really recognize the distinction, and they'll mix like in an equal way with many different groups. So we kind of see that extreme without really appreciating like what's unique and what's special in particular about this particular you know, cultivation and line of understanding. And then you also see others at the other end of the spectrum who can be hateful and critical, and just denounce anything that's not their way, you know. Only Prabhupada, you know, only Guru Maharaj, only Govinda Maharaj, only Acharya Maharaj, you know, and so on and so forth. So that's that's very bad. That's worse, because then you're offensive. You know? So you know, we're appreciating both the unity as well as the diversity. Really, you know, what we are following is something very specific. If we think about different avatars of the Lord, you know, like think of the Braja Gopis. When Krishna takes on the form of Narayan, they're not very interested. They give their dandavat, like, oh, Namo Narayana. You know, do you know where Krishna is? We can't find Krishna. No, there's so many. You know, there's Nrsingadev, there's Ramchandra, there's Ramadev. There's so many different manifestations of the Lord. And we offer our obeisances to all of them. But our hearts have been captured by Krishna, by Mahaprabhu. Like Gurudev said once in Italy, very, very sweetly, we will give our dandavat, we will give our obeisance to all forms of the Lord. And then we will go to the playground with Krishna. So, you know, in that way we have respect and appreciation, affection for everyone, for, you know, for the Lord, all expressions of the Lord also, but deep within our hearts, you know, we are cultivating something quite particular. So it's a level of maturity, you know, it's a level of maturity, mature realization, to have this broadness, to be able to encompass, you know, a broader scope of appreciation. Yeah. In Sri Guru and His Grace, there's an interesting section where Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying how at a lower stage of realization, then we may be encouraged, just stick to your path. Don't go to any other path. You know, only follow this path. You know? because you're at a stage of immaturity. And so if you're too like broad in the beginning, then you won't really understand what it is that you're following in your line. But then at a higher stage of realization, then you'll be told, see Guru everywhere. Guru is everywhere. and in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's that example given, I think it's the Avadut, that he lists 24 gurus or something, including the earth. The earth is a guru for him. You know, the sky is a guru for him. Like, because he's at a more evolved stage. He's seeing guru everywhere and everything in the environment. But if we try to jump to that realization too quickly, then we'll become impersonalist, you know. So that is another point, you know. You know, it's like also with your children, you may say, don't talk to anybody on the street. You know, if you're going out, don't talk to any strangers. You know, maybe your mom tells you that sometimes, Bala. But then when they're more mature and grown up, then it would be silly if they go around acting like that. And then they're more mature. They have some discrimination. They can take care of themselves. They can smile at people, and they can assess on an individual basis, like who can I trust, who can I not trust. So that is another consideration. So yeah, there's many fine points we have to consider in our application of these things. It's not a black and white, not a black and white matter. How are you, Balaram?
Very good. Fine.
Yeah. Are you back at school now?
Virtual school.
Okay.
Virtual, online.
Virtual school. And you're a teacher, Diabetes. Are you doing virtual teaching?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Some classes I did, but now school is over. Now it's summer vacation. But since he's in a private school, they still have, I think, this week.
Okay. Are you missing
But it was crazy.
Are you missing your friends, Balaram?
Not so much.
He's very mature, Balaram. He's pretty mature. Does anyone else want to add anything to our discussion?
Well, I also have a question on this topic, and so I understand how we don't want to quarrel with others, but when there is a difference in philosophical thought, scriptural interpretation, how do we adjust that? Because we don't want to quarrel, but we can't accept what another line is thinking.
You're speaking about within
our
own mission, or within
even within our own mission, but within other missions, we're all trying to practice bhakti yoga, but there are there's different levels that people are at and different conceptions out there. So
yeah,
we want to create harmony, but then there's also where there is actual differences in our beliefs and our conceptions.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on. I mean, it requires some level of discrimination, doesn't it? There are some who are, how can we say, following a conception which according to our gurus we know is completely incorrect. In those cases, we pay our respects from far away. you know, dandavata dorata. It depends, you know, it's a case by case thing, you know. In some, like in the case of a mission like ISKCON or like the Gaudiya mocks, they're closer to us, you know, and we are all under the umbrella of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So there's more of a spirit of kinship and more closeness in our understanding of the teachings. And then there are others who have you know, more removed ideas. We can still honor them. We may not take them as much into our heart, but we can still have honor for them in the way that we'll honor anyone, in the way that we'll also honor Christians and Muslims, and, you know, unless it's someone who's actually been like offensive to our gurus or critical, then that is different again. You know, then we will have some more reserve. But yes, I mean, it's just a matter of assessing on a case by case basis. Within our own mission, then, I mean, it just comes down to whether we're in a position to instruct someone or not. And I mean, if someone is under a conception which we understand to be incorrect, then you know, I mean, a lot of the time there's not much we can do about it, unless they want to hear from us. And if they're not in the position of like representing the teachings, then there's also some room for persons to you know, like grow and develop their understanding in a natural way. You know, we don't want to force anything upon anyone. So yeah. I mean, mostly I would say we have to have some you know, discrimination in a positive sense, discrimination, being able to assess these things, you know, on a case by case basis. So yeah, I mean, care must be there for sure. But in a general sense, you know, we will be respectful to everyone. That's like the main policy. We will be respectful to everyone, but, and this is Gurudev, this is a quote from Gurudev, but who we will take into our hearts in a more intimate way, we will be careful about that. Will be who we will consider in a deeper way in our heart. That will be more careful about. But in a general sense, we give respect to everyone, and we're not out to fight with anyone. You know, everyone has to go their own way. So, yeah. Do you want to add anything to that, Prabhu?
No, but I'm just very happy to be with you, and I think I feel the same way that you do, that like what we've been given by our gurus, I'm fully satisfied. And like, I mean, it feels to me that we don't need to go anywhere else. Although we can give respect and honor and worship everything, but what Sri Saraswati Thakur, Swami Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, they have given is fully sufficient for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of like a little fanatic, you know. Like I haven't even read Srimad Bhagavatam, and you know, I really feel like if I just read the books of Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj like the rest of my life, you know. Every time I go through, you know, we've been going through Sri Guru and His Grace and affectionate guidance, and you know, we've read these books so many times, but we're always getting some new light. Because we're getting that heart connection from them. Not to say there's anything wrong, with just speaking about myself personally. I feel like I need to read more books, actually. Because Gurudev said, if you're a preacher, then you should, it's good to read these things, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But I just, I have no attraction. But maybe one day when I'm old and just in bed all day, an invalid, then I'll spend my days reading everything.
Well, Gurudev, in this one video, he was in 1989. He was saying, like, even at that point, he's Acharya of Worldwide Mission, and he had not read the Ujjvala Nilamani.
Right.
And he also mentions how, the final days of Sridhar Maharaj, what was he reading? The Mahabharata.
Right.
Not like these super high things, but something that we consider like general religion.
Yes. I had this really nice talk with my mother last night. Because I was thinking to do an interview with her. Because, there's this whole Black Lives Matter thing, which is going on. And my mother's Black American. And what's really interesting about her is that she's living like on this like very detached platform. Like she's never identified with that. And I was reflecting that we've never discussed racism, like never, like we never ever talked. It never came up. Like she just doesn't identify with it at all. And so, I've been a little sad because I've seen some of our community is getting very passionate about this subject matter. And so I was thinking to interview her on that. And just like give some spiritual perspective, like how does she see it? Like what's her experience of racism? What's her spiritual perspective on it? And also the reaction to racism. What is her perspective on that? She said she won't do an interview. But the problem with her is she's too hardcore. She was saying that it upsets her to see how like involved people are becoming, she was saying that we've received so much from our gurus. They've given us so much. They've told us who we really are, what our real need is. We know that this is a world of exploitation, There's so much, what to speak of what's being described now in the news, such much more horrible atrocities have gone on, will go on, that's the nature of this world. It's the world of exploitation. So for us to become surprised about this, to become so involved about this, it is not, it's removing us, it's taking us away from our real, our real need and from the line of truth that our gurus have extended to us. So we had a very, very nice conversation, but unfortunately she won't do an interview. She said she would just become too heavy about it. But she made this very, just in line with what you're saying, she made this this comment, which I really appreciated. She was saying, like, if we take like one sentence of Srila Maharaj and we take that against like so many hundreds and thousands of libraries of knowledge that that are in the world today, like that one sentence of Srila Maharaj will outweigh like everything, just one sentence. It's also mentioned one word of Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Every word, every letter, every syllable of Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. So it's like if we could just realize like one sentence, you know, I had a nice conversation about this with Gadadhar Pandit. He lives in Hungary. He's originally from New Zealand. And he was saying how when we get in this mode of trying to absorb so much information, so much knowledge, we lose appreciation for it. And he was saying like, actually the age that we're living in now, this is a danger that we face, because we're facing, like we're overloaded with information. Like previously, if you want to read a book, you go to the library, you know, you'll rent it out, you know, you might even pay some money, you know, like it's something more precious, something more valuable. But nowadays, like we, you know, with the internet, everything's so easily accessible. You know, you can go Google the Upanishads. You can download, you know, all of the books of our gurus like in 5 minutes. You know, like we've got very easy access to information, which is good. But the danger is also there that it becomes something cheap, and you know, we'll just like go through everything, but we're not really in that focused mood of receiving like one particular teaching that's being given in one place. So yeah, have that mood of like, if I can appreciate just one word, one sentence, one instruction that's given in one book of my Gurudev, you know, that would make our lives successful. Should we stop there for today, or anything else to add from anyone?
Unless somebody wants to add something or a question. We're very happy that you can be with us every week, Vishakha.
Oh, my pleasure. I actually get really nervous about this meeting. When I'm sitting here and talking to you, it's like totally fine. But like for 2 or 3 days before, I'm nervous. No, for no reason, just the mind, you know, the mind likes to make things more complicated. But no, it's so nice, you know, just to sit with some nice friends and relax and share your mind.
Thank you for sharing your mind.
Thank you for giving me your good company.
Yeah, there's one video I just did with Shri Gurudev. He was kind of mentioning the same thing before coming to do a talk. He's saying, you know, what am I going to say? Or, you know, what am I thinking about? But then during that time, it's like there's no end. There's no problem. There's so much that we could discuss.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That makes me feel better. That's very encouraging. Dandavat, Nadia. Dandavat. Hope to see you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Dandavas. Didi. Dandavas to all devotees. Thank you very much.
That's very sweet, Gurudev.
I really like the last thing about one sentence. At least understand one sentence. So I'll keep that in mind for next week, and you know, try to understand at least one sentence from one book.
It's quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at it from every side and try to, you know, get that seed. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, Indra, so happy to have you with us.
See you soon.
Okay.
See you next week.
Jai
Nanda
Shri Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the beautiful assembled devotees ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Haribol. Jai.
Vishakha Devi.
Jai.